second iteration, the Witchwood point one, right? We had Witchwood point 0, now we're on Witchwood point 1 for the new arena. And we're going to take the Volcano first, give us something to build off of here. And after that, we're going to take our poison, get a nice poison early. This is my second favorite poison. I really like the Basilisk. I think the Basilisk is a little underrated. The Wasp gets killed more often than you would think, being stealth. I mean, yeah, it can't be targeted, but there's so many good AoEs. They just keep making better AoEs, and most people end up with AoEs even over some of the valuable direct targets that don't deal with it right away anyway, right? So Fire Plume Phoenix is really good. It can't hit Wasp when it's stealth, and it only gets rid of the Divine Shield of the Basilisk. So we're glad to have a giant Wasp. Okay, so maybe Frost Shock is tough. It's just not good. The Earth Shock is the only one we want. So the arena was, in the last 2 weeks, had gotten extremely aggressive. We were seeing people coin, turn 1 Paladins, coin out their recruits so that they could turn them into 3/3s with their buff next turn. We played against the Shaman that coined out a totem just so that they could put a wolf next to it and get that kind of aggression. So I'm thinking if people are still drafting like that, we've got to counter that a little bit. And Rockbiter in that case is going to be a better choice. We don't have any fat yet. I think we take the Threshodon. Though green jelly could be pretty good. It never gets you the value you want, right? So it staves off an attack every once in a while. It's kind of like the Shrieking Mushroom, where it feels like it should have this impact, but it doesn't. Whereas the Threshodon does, especially since it drops Murlocs. Secretly, we could get some Murloc combos going there. I don't think we want Wind Fury just yet. We might end up at some point having a want for this, right? If we get a good minion base, we might want a Wind Fury. There's some really key situations where it's good. He's in Wild now, but the 4-drop that on Battle Cry was a 3/3 that gave you a minion Wind Fury. That guy was definitely playable in Arena. We missed that guy. So I'm trying to decide if we want the Crawler. I don't think we're ever really going to want this. It's good for a 2-drop just to have one. But I think right now we essentially don't have any minions we really want to play. So let's take that guy. These are all really strong cards. We're going to take the Hex just so that we can have a Hex. I was just talking about how good Phoenix is. Crushing Hand is definitely up there as far as value for mana. So here's what we're talking about. We saw 1 Hex, another Hex, a Lightning Storm. I'm thinking they didn't mess with the drop rate of Shaman that much, which means our theory might be correct. Maybe we're just getting some recency bias here, but seeing 2 Hexes in the first 7 cards and a Volcano and a Lightning Storm, we like that a lot. So what we've got to do from here is get something to back us up there. I don't, Sleeping Dragon, there's a lot of 9-drops that you just feel bad holding on to. And we're going to take the Stone Sentinel, actually. I really like having an Elemental. Let's try to get an Elemental chain going here at some point. I like the idea of Blazing Invocation, especially since we get to choose, but I think the Bone Drake is just too strong here. Gets us that outside value. Ooh, maybe Blizzard watched my YouTube video, because Ravencaller was not in the first couple weeks valued this high next to these guys. This is actually a tougher choice, but I really do want a weapon. Lightning Bolt I can live without. It feels like a lot of the time you're holding on to it, hoping for the right trade. It does go face, but not as strong as like a Lava Burst. I would take a Lava Burst over Ravencaller. We're going to cross our fingers and hope this isn't the only weapon that we're being offered. But Ravencaller, if you haven't seen my YouTube video yet where I talk about Ravencaller and the value of it, then check it out and you'll see why I love Ravencaller. Ooh, here's another good one. So since our last Phoenix, we took the Stone Sentinel going for an Elemental Chain, so we're going to stay on that. We're going to hope to get the Elemental Chain going here. I do love Voodoo Doll. There's a couple cards that they release that just seem like a cool fit. Yes, this does favor, I would say, Mage the most because they can kill it the turn with their hero power. And then other ones that get good advantages out of it, like a Warlock with a Mortal Coil or a Defile, all of that kind of stuff. Some of the classes have a hard time killing this. Warrior with Whirlwind is a good setup with this guy. In Arena, as a Shaman, I think we're better off taking the Shallow Gravedigger and hoping to get a really good Death Rattle. So this one kind of stinks. So there is a world, there are situations where Light Warden and Healing Totem from the hero power get us a lot of ridiculous stats. It's not common. It's good to have a 1-drop because we actually don't have a 2-drop yet. So at this point we're on turn 2 either hitting that totem or coining out a Ravencaller or Sewer Rat. None of those are really great options. We might want the Abomination. We don't have any taunt yet. So right now our deck is really slow. We've got a lot of options to catch up on our hot dog, which is not allowed where I'm from, just so you know. I'm in Chicago, from Chicago. The Chicago style is pretty much everything except for ketchup, so you can get weird looks around here for that. But we're talking about Hearthstone and ketchup, not hot dogs and ketchup. Though now I'm getting hungry a little bit. I just don't know if this card is ever really good enough. Like if we get it, how many times do we drop this guy, the Abomination, on turn 5 in a Shaman next to our totems and are super happy with the outcome of it? I don't think hardly ever. We should just hope on getting a Tar Creeper, Phantom Militia. Rotten Apple is way better than this guy for us. I like the idea of trying to get advantage out of Spirit Echo, but we just don't have the minion base for that. So I guess we're taking the Light Warden and hoping for the best. So even though we're trying to build an elemental train or chain going here to maybe get value out of the Lizard, we still don't have anything that's less than 3 mana. So on turn 3, this guy is always going to just be a 3/3 beast, and Charge is really good. I'm not sure we're going to get Charge anymore, actually. I think Charge is going to be an extremely rare print from now on. They might do more like Battle Cry Charge so that you can't cheat it out as much. I think they're really happy with how Rush is because they put that on a lot of minions, and I think we'll see a lot more in the next year as they test out more Rush. So with how aggressive Arena's been, Bloodlust could be really good, actually, but our deck isn't geared toward it. But in the last 2 weeks, you would have been building decks to Bloodlust. I think we're going to go a little bit more mid-range here and try to keep up. So we want a Silence, but I also want an Elemental, but it's too hard to pass up on the Silence. Gets you so much victory. Ooh, another Poison. I think we take the 3-drop. Our 3-drops are looking pretty sad. Oh, there's the Elemental. That's an easy pick out of those 3. So this is an Elemental, but there's a reason he's with these 2 guys, because he doesn't fit into a normal Arena game that much. We don't want to get into the trap of thinking that the meta slowed down just because there was a nerf to the top tiers. It might have actually increased the pace, right? So if they decrease the drop of Steeds and Silver Swords, they might have inversely then just increase the drop of the rate of 1-drops, right? So a Paladin might be like, okay, I'm not getting a Silver Sword, but I've got another Hydrologist, right? So I don't think we want to take this guy. He doesn't really fit the Elemental chain. He doesn't give us any value. If he had Taunt, or if he could adapt, like maybe if he had Battlecry adapt just to give us some sort of option, or maybe if he had Battlecry adapt if he's part of an Elemental chain, he could get us some value. I think we get another 1-drop here and just try not to get overrun. The Blood Knight could help with that. Bone Drake is so valuable though, but we've got a weird curve going on here. So like I've said before, if I become game director for Blizzard, or at least can weasel my way into something with the Arena, there will be radio buttons here so you can click and see more than just your mana curve, because this really doesn't tell you that much. So it's telling us we got a lot of 3 drops right now, but I've been picking these 3 drops, and we're not looking at that good of a 3 curve here. So we've got the giant wasp. You don't always want to drop on turn 3. Um, the gravedigger we do, the sewer crawler. Okay, you know what? It is filling up pretty good here. All right, I was a little off. That's looking good. In that case, I don't think we need the Blood Knight, though it could get some insane value. Not as much as Mind Control Tech, which is also a 3 drop that could get a big swing. Not as much as some of the crabs either. Like a hungry crab is often better than this guy, though he could get to some insane value, especially since maybe we're overthinking it. But again, let's look at paladins. If they removed the high tier picks from paladin, maybe we see more divine shields, and this guy's got its value. I think we're going to take a blazing invocation just to have one. I might regret passing up another bone drake, but I don't know. I feel like we're getting kind of heavy down here right now. There's another solid 3 drop. I like Zap because of how it fits into standard. I don't think we need it here, because if we're using Zap to kill a 2/2, a 3/2, I'd rather use a plated beetle, right? Rather get into a position where that helps. Charge is still a really good one though. What 2 drops do we have? None. We still have no 2 drops? Okay, plated beetle. That's an easy one. Oh, that's a tougher one. Okay, so now they tempt us. They say, how about instead of charge, we give them rush and and 3 more stats. No, 5 more stats. Yeah, so 2 more mana, 5 more stats. It's a toss-up whether it's worth it. I also really, really love this card. So this card is just one of those cards that fits exactly what I like about Hearthstone. It fits the class well. It's whimsical, and then it's got the added randomness bonus that I love to see in Hearthstone. The problem is a random shaman spell is not always that valuable, because you can get some duds, man. There's some, what is it, Totemic Might, or the one that buffs your totems. The gamble on that is too high compared to having a charge or a really good rush. I think we take the rush, because we're gonna go for board position more than the win. I think we want this guy as a 3/8, maybe even most games. So let's do that. Ooh, there's our Tart Creeper taunt. Not even a hard pick. Okay, now that is a hard pick. So we're looking at my favorite poison, even though we already have a poison. It's never bad to have 2. A second hex is just almost rude. Almost rude to take this guy. So it was confirmed for me the other day that the discover function favors your class cards. So that's why it's so good in Paladin. I thought it was just luck, like the bias, since there are so many. There's only the 2 in Paladin, and they're so good. Well, the 3 with the little Argent Defender. So with Shaman, we get the Windlord, which is an elemental. We get the heal, the 2/4 heal, which is an elemental. So we get some elementals. We get some options with him, including then, getting a Phantom Militia as an option, hopefully, Rotten Apple, a Lich King. So Stonehill Defender could be better than Hex. I think I want 2 hexes. It feels like having 2 hexes is just too good. Right? Like, when do we ever not want 2 hexes? But Stonehill Defender, is there another taunt I'm missing for Shaman that makes it really good? Because there's the Windlord for sure. We see him a lot when we discover with him. Sometimes he's not that great though. I mean, it's got to be a really good scenario. Sometimes he sits in your hand for 8 mana, because after the Divine Shield, he's only got 5 defense. But also the getting him on turn 3 and then getting the 2/4 that heals. But we've got a really healthy 3-drop here. If it were Paladin, I would take the Earth Elemental. Yeah, he does. Yeah, the Earth Elemental is also, that's a good call. So that, I think we don't want that though. The overload is so much. You know what? I'm going to take a second hex, but we're going to make a note of that like we did with our other Stonehill Defender last night. It may be a mistake. So last night, as Rogue, we took Stonehill Defender over Assassinate, which was a big mistake, I think. Today I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to take the hex over the Stonehill Defender. Yes, it's our second Stonehill Defender or our second hex. So maybe when you get to two, it's not as valuable. But hex is just so good. What do our big drops look like? Yeah, we definitely don't want a war golem. So the only way this guy helps us right now is if our Threshodon explodes. We don't have any other Murlocs going on here. I think we take the hatchling and just fill up our threes here. Okay, Stormwind Champion is just too valuable to pass up. So I'm thinking maybe the 4-drop, but this guy is an elemental, and since we have a lot of good stuff going on early, I think we can even hold on to this guy if we don't get value from him, right? Well, yeah, our 4-drops are solid. Let's take an elemental to throw in there. So I was talking before about how much I like Rotten Apple, but I think I wish I could search by taunt here. What do our taunts look like? We passed up on Stonehill Defender. We were just talking about that. So we've got a Tar Creeper, which in play with our elemental chain is actually better than the defender. So we've got one. Do I have to take the rotten apple? We already have one blazing invocation, which could get you good cards. We've seen some really good invocations. We've also seen some duds though. I wish this guy was a taunt. I mean, he could be. It's not that common, but I don't think we have enough taunts to pass up on this guy. We've got a lot of 3-drops though, and every turn for 2 mana, we've got a 25% shot at a taunt. So maybe, why do they have this blacked out? Why can't they tell us what our hero power is in arena? That's so weird. It's like I know it's here for the dungeon runs and stuff, right? But why do they hide it from us? It's okay to tell me what my hero power is. Maybe I'm a noob. Just let me know. I mean, what else are you doing with this button here? Maybe they're thinking about adding a reroll button for 100 gold, right? Like, I don't know though. This guy could get us taunts. I think we have to take the taunt. He's a little bit late to the taunt game, so he could help us out if we get behind. Oh man. I would spend 10 gold to go back right now and take the blazing invocation since we got 2 insane taunts offered here. So because of our deck, I don't think we want a second volcano. If we ever get in a position where we need to volcano, we definitely don't want to get in that position twice, especially with this curve. We want the Drake. We definitely want the Drake. Doesn't fit into the elemental curve. Overload 3 doesn't really fit into the elemental curve either, and the only one that affects is Stonehill Sentinel. We didn't get anything else that triggers off of it, but we could discover one, right? We could discover a Blazecaller or something. Yeah, we want the Drake, and we actually really like this deck. So looking at the deck, I would say it at least fits into my theory that they didn't mess up Shaman, right? So we saw 3 hexes. I'm trying to remember what we took over the second one. At the time, it wasn't even that big a deal because we already had one, and it was a good card. It might have been no, it wasn't the Earthshock. Was it the Lightning Storm? I think it was the Lightning Storm. So in this case, that was a really good call because having 1 Lightning Storm and 2 hexes is much better than 3 hexes. Though the second hex was next to a Stonehill Defender. Would we rather have a Stonehill Defender than a Lightning Storm? If we had all our cards laid out in front of us for the picks. No, I like this deck. So, silence with our Earthshock. Sometimes it's bad to have Earthshock as your only silence rather than a Battle Cry because it doesn't get through membranes. So if a minion has a membrane, we can't get through it with the Earthshock. But we do have a poison. I passed up on the Basilisk, which is also a very solid poison. So I don't think we're going to regret it though. We've got the Hatchling. He'll get poisoned right when we need him. The Ravencaller does not discover anything that's poison, but he'll discover a chameleon, and the chameleon will turn into a poison in his hand. So easy. But But yeah, I like this deck. I think this is a very solid deck. It might be too slow with what we were seeing with the meta depending on the draw, but we've got a really strong 3 curve here. So if the meta hasn't shifted to be super aggressive, then I think we're set. Oh, this is the play button. That's why it was grayed out. I see. Maybe for all the arenas I've played, you would think I would know what that was. All right, so we finished our picks. We're going to jump in and we're going to start some